Alduin was not evil. I need you to understand this before we go any further. Everything you think you know about the World Eater, everything the game told you, everything the Blades and the Greybeards and the ancient Nords believed, it's not wrong exactly, but it's incomplete. Alduin was not a villain who needed to be stopped. Alduin was a function of the universe that broke itself. And when you killed him at the end of Skyrim, you did not save the world. You may have doomed it to something far, far worse. Tonight, I will show you the truth about the World Eater. Not the dragon you fought, not the tyrant who enslaved the ancient Nords. The real Alduin. The one who was supposed to end everything. And the question you will have to answer for yourself: was stopping him a victory, or the greatest mistake in the history of existence? Let us begin with what you know. Alduin is a dragon. The first dragon, according to Nordic legend. The firstborn of Akatosh, the dragon god of time. He appeared in the Merethic era, thousands of years before the events of Skyrim, and he ruled over mortals with an iron claw. The dragon cult worshipped him. The dragon priests served him. Humanity lived and died at his pleasure, sacrificing their freedom and their souls for the privilege of existing beneath his shadow. And then the rebellion came. The ancient Nords learned the Thu'um, the voice, the power to shout as dragons do. They rose against their masters. They fought a war that shook the foundations of the world. And at the climax of that war, 3 heroes used an Elder Scroll to cast Alduin forward in time. They could not kill him. Nothing could kill him, not truly. So they did the next best thing. They removed him from their era, sent him hurtling through the ages, made him someone else's problem. 4,000 years later, he returned. The events of Skyrim began, and the last Dragonborn rose to meet him. You know this story. You lived it, but you do not know what Alduin actually is. The name tells you everything if you listen carefully. World Eater. Not World Conqueror. Not World Ruler. Not World Tyrant. Eater. In the Nordic tradition, Alduin's role is not to dominate the world. His role is to consume it, to devour reality itself, from the ground to the sky, from the past to the future, until nothing remains but the void from which creation originally emerged. This sounds like villainy. This sounds like the ultimate evil, a being whose purpose is the annihilation of everything. What could be more worthy of destruction than that? But here is where it gets complicated. Alduin is supposed to eat the world, not because he is evil, because that is how the universe works. The Elder Scrolls universe operates on cycles. This is not metaphor. This is not philosophy. This is the fundamental structure of reality. The world is created. The world exists. The world is destroyed. And then, crucially, the world is created again. These cycles are called kalpas. A kalpa is one complete iteration of existence. One universe from birth to death. One dream of the Godhead from beginning to end. Everything you know, Tamriel, Nirn, Mundus, the gods and mortals and Daedra, all of it exists within a single kalpa. And there have been others, many others, perhaps infinite others. Before this world, there was a previous world. Different continents, different races, different histories. And before that world, another, and another, stretching back into an eternity that even the gods cannot fully comprehend. Each kalpa ends. Each kalpa is consumed. And then it begins again. Alduin is the mechanism of ending. When a kalpa has run its course, when the universe has grown old and tired and ready for renewal, Alduin wakes. He spreads his wings across the sky. He opens his jaws and begins to devour. He eats the world. Not destroys, eats. The distinction matters. Destruction implies waste, entropy, loss. What Alduin does is different. He consumes existence and, in consuming it, makes room for what comes next. The World Eater is not an enemy of creation. He is part of creation. He is the ending that makes new beginnings possible. Without Alduin, the universe would grow stagnant, corrupt, exhausted. It would collapse under its own weight, unable to refresh itself. Alduin is the reset button, and he refused to press it. This is the tragedy at the heart of everything. When Alduin returned to Tamriel in the Fourth Era, he did not come to eat the world. He came to rule it. Somewhere in the vast span of his existence, the World Eater made a choice. He decided that he did not want to be a function. He did not want to be a mechanism. He wanted to be a god. Not the god of endings, the god of dragons, the god of domination, the god of eternal tyranny over mortal races. He looked at the world he was supposed to consume and he thought, why destroy this when I could own it? And so he abandoned his purpose. Think about what this means. Alduin is the firstborn of Akatosh, the god of time. He is, in some interpretations, an aspect of Akatosh himself, the part of the time god that represents endings, the final moment before renewal. When Alduin chose to conquer instead of consume, he broke something fundamental in the structure of reality. The cycle of kalpas depends on the World Eater fulfilling his role. The universe expects to be ended and reborn. Alduin said no, and the universe has been waiting ever since. The ancient Nords who fought Alduin did not understand any of this. They could not have.
They saw a tyrant, a monster who demanded worship and sacrifice, who burned their villages and enslaved their people. They fought for freedom, for survival, for the right to determine their own destiny. They were not wrong to fight. Alduin's tyranny was real. His cruelty was genuine. Whatever his cosmic role was supposed to be, what he actually did in the Merethic era was monstrous. But they also could not kill him. The Elder Scroll they used, one of the most powerful artifacts in existence, a fragment of creation itself, could only displace Alduin through time. It could not end him. Perhaps nothing can truly end him, because he is ending. They sent him to the future. They sent him to us. And they had no idea what they were really dealing with. 4,000 years. That is how long Alduin was absent from the world. 4,000 years of history unfolding without the World Eater's shadow. 4,000 years of mortals building and destroying and building again, believing themselves free from the dragon's tyranny. 4,000 years for the world to forget what Alduin really was. By the time he returned, the truth had been lost. The Nords remembered him as a demon, a tyrant, the ultimate enemy. The Greybeards knew pieces of the deeper lore but kept their own counsel. The Blades wanted him destroyed, no questions asked. No one stopped to ask, wait, why did Alduin return now? What is he supposed to be doing? What happens if we stop him? No one except, perhaps, Paarthurnax. Paarthurnax is Alduin's brother, one of the firstborn dragons, ancient beyond mortal comprehension, once a lieutenant in the dragon cult's hierarchy of oppression. But Paarthurnax changed. He turned against Alduin during the Dragon War. He taught the ancient Nords the Thu'um, gave them the weapon they needed to fight back. He has spent 4,000 years atop the throat of the world, meditating, suppressing his nature, trying to be something other than what he was born to be. And Paarthurnax knows the truth. When you speak with him in Skyrim, he hints at things the game never fully explores. He speaks of Alduin's role with something like regret. Not regret that Alduin existed, but regret that Alduin abandoned his purpose. He has always been too proud, Paarthurnax says. He took for himself the glory of the World Eater, but not the duty. The glory, not the duty. Alduin wanted the power of ending without the responsibility. He wanted to be feared as the World Eater without actually eating the world. He wanted the title without the function. And that pride, that refusal, may have broken everything. Let me be clear about something. I am not saying Alduin was good. I am not saying the Dragonborn was wrong to fight him. The Alduin who returned in the Fourth Era was a tyrant, a monster, a being of immense destruction who would have enslaved or destroyed mortal civilization. Stopping that Alduin was necessary. But it is possible for something to be necessary and still be tragic. It is possible to win a battle and still lose something precious. It is possible to save the world in the short term while dooming it in ways you cannot imagine. The Dragonborn defeated Alduin, sent him somewhere. Sovngarde? The Void? True death? No one knows for certain. The game is deliberately vague about Alduin's fate. Was he killed? Was he banished? Will he return? And beneath all these questions, the deeper one. If Alduin is truly gone, who will eat the world when the time comes? The Kalpa must end. This is not optional. This is not negotiable. The universe has a structure, and that structure requires cycles of death and rebirth. The world is not meant to last forever. It is meant to grow, to flourish, to decay, and finally to be consumed so that something new can emerge. Without Alduin, the cycle is broken. The current Kalpa, our Kalpa, the one containing everything we know and love about the Elder Scrolls, cannot end properly. It will continue past its natural span. It will grow old and tired and corrupt. It will become something it was never meant to be. A world without ending. An existence without renewal. Eternity. That might sound appealing. Eternity. Forever. The world continuing on and on without end. But think about what that actually means. Everything that exists will continue to exist. Not just the good things, the bad things too. Every mistake, every corruption, every accumulating error in the fabric of reality. All of it preserved forever without the cleansing fire of renewal. The gods will grow distant and strange, their power slowly draining without the renewal of a new Kalpa. The barriers between worlds will weaken. The Daedra will press harder and harder against the borders of Mundus. The very laws of nature will begin to fray, and there will be no reset, no new beginning, no hope that the next world might be better than this one. Just this. Forever. Is that what we wanted? Let me take you backwards. Not through history, through existence itself. Before Skyrim, before the Empire, before the Merethic era and the dawn of recorded time. Before this world. The current Kalpa is not the first. We have established this. But what does that actually mean? What were the previous worlds like? Who lived there? What happened to them? These questions are difficult to answer because, by definition, almost nothing survives the transition between Kalpas. When Alduin eats the world, he eats everything. The land, the sea, the sky, the people, the memories. The slate is wiped clean. The new world begins fresh, unburdened by the weight of what came before. Almost nothing survives. But not quite nothing. There are echoes, fragments, pieces of previous Kalpas that somehow persisted through the consuming fire of Alduin's hunger. And these fragments tell us disturbing things about the nature of existence. The Redguards remember. This is one of the strangest pieces of Elder Scrolls lore, buried deep in texts that most players never read. The Redguards, the human race from Hammerfell, have myths that do not quite match the rest of Tamriel's creation stories. They speak of a previous world, a world called Yokuda, far to the west, which sank beneath the sea. They speak of their ancestors sailing east, fleeing a cataclysm, arriving on Tamriel's shores as refugees from a drowned homeland. This is the surface story, the story most people know. But the deeper Yokudan myths say something else. They say that Yokuda was not just a continent. Yokuda was the world, the previous world, the Kalpa before this one. And some of them escaped. In Yokudan tradition, there is a figure called Ruptga, or Tall Papa. He is their chief deity, equivalent to Akatosh in the imperial pantheon. But his role is different. His role is stranger. Ruptga figured out how to survive the ending of the world. According to the myths, when the previous Kalpa was being consumed, Ruptga found a way to persist. He climbed a path, a spiritual stairway, a conceptual ladder, and he reached a place where Alduin's hunger could not touch him. And then he showed others how to do the same. The Yokudan spirits, the Red Guard ancestors, followed Ruptga's path. They escaped the death of their world. They walked between the ending of one Kalpa and the beginning of the next. They remember because they were there. They survived because they found a way to cheat the system. Think about the implications of this. The Red Guards are not native to this Kalpa. They are refugees from a previous existence, carrying memories and traditions that predate the very world they now inhabit. When they speak of Yokuda sinking beneath the waves, they are describing, in mythologized form, the consumption of a previous universe. They watched Alduin eat their home, and they escaped. They are not the only ones. The Hist, those strange, sentient trees that the Argonians worship, are also believed to be survivors from a previous Kalpa. They existed before the current world began. They remember things that no other beings remember. This is why the Hist are so alien. This is why they do not think like other creatures, do not perceive time the way mortals do. They are not from here. They are visitors, refugees, pieces of a dead universe persisting in a new one. The Argonians are their creation, or their dream, or their extension. When an Argonian licks Hist sap, they are connecting to memories older than existence itself. And then there are the Elnefey. The Elnefey are, according to creation myth, the ancestors of all mortal races, the progenitors. They existed at the beginning of the current Kalpa, in the Dawn era, when the world was still taking shape. But where did they come from? Some texts suggest the Elnefey were spirits who became trapped in the mortal world when it was created. Others suggest they chose to become mortal, sacrificing their divine nature to give substance to the new reality. But there is another interpretation, a darker one. The Elnefey were the survivors of the previous Kalpa, not refugees who escaped, survivors who persisted. When Alduin consumed the old world, pieces of the old world's inhabitants remained. Ghosts, echoes, fragments of people who refused to be digested. And these fragments became the seeds of new life in the new world. If this interpretation is correct, then we are all descended from the remnants of a dead universe. Every elf, every human, every beast race, all of us carry within us the genetic memory of a world that no longer exists. We are what remains when a world is eaten. This raises an uncomfortable question. If beings from the previous Kalpa can survive into this one, then beings from this Kalpa might survive into the next. The cycle is not perfectly clean. The consumption is not total. When, if, this world ends, echoes of us might persist. Fragments of our civilizations, our memories, Our stories might carry forward into whatever comes next. We might become the Elnefe of the next world. We might become the gods of a future existence, or the ghosts. But this can only happen if the cycle continues. This can only happen if Alduin eats the world. And Alduin is gone. Let me tell you about the other beings who remember. Dragons. Not all dragons are from this Kalpa. Some of them, perhaps including Alduin himself, exist outside the normal cycle.
They are spirits of time, fragments of Akatosh, beings whose existence transcends the birth and death of individual worlds. When you fight a dragon in Skyrim and absorb its soul, you are consuming something that may have existed across multiple Kalpas, something that remembers worlds you cannot imagine, something that has seen the cycle turn again and again. This is why dragons are so obsessed with domination. They have perspective that mortals lack. They know, they remember, that worlds end, that nothing mortal lasts, that only power, only strength, only dominance matters in the face of infinite repetition. Why build? Why create? Why love? It will all be eaten eventually. Better to rule while you can. Alduin had this perspective. He had the longest memory of all. He remembered every Kalpa he had consumed, every world he had ended, every reality he had reset. And at some point, he grew tired of it. Imagine, if you can, what Alduin's existence was like. You are born at the end of the world. Your first act is consumption. You eat everything, every continent, every ocean, every soul, every story. You reduce existence to nothing. And then it begins again. A new world forms. New mortals arise. New civilizations build themselves from nothing. They worship gods, fight wars, fall in love, create art, dream of immortality. And you wait. You wait while they live their tiny lives. You wait while they forget you exist. You wait while they build everything they will ever build. And then you eat it, again, and again, and again. For how long? How many Kalpas? How many worlds? The numbers are beyond comprehension. The Elder Scrolls universe may have existed through dozens of cycles, hundreds, thousands, millions. And Alduin ate them all. Is it any wonder he went mad? Is it any wonder he looked at yet another world, yet another crop of mortals, yet another cycle of building and destroying, and he said, "No, not this time. This time I will be more than the ending. This time I will be the story." Alduin's rebellion against his purpose was not evil. It was exhaustion. It was the desperate act of a being who had done the same thing so many times that he could not bear to do it again. He wanted to matter, not as the World Eater, as himself, as Alduin, as a god with worshippers and temples and a legacy that would last. He wanted to be remembered as something other than the end. And so he came to Tamriel in the Merethic era, and he built a cult. He made the dragons into gods and the mortals into slaves. He created an empire of worship and terror. For the first time in his existence, Alduin was not waiting to destroy. He was living. He was wrong to do it. The dragon cult was monstrous. The suffering he caused was real.
The tyranny he imposed deserved to be overthrown. But can you understand why he did it? Can you feel, even a little, the desperation that drove him? The ancient Nords could not understand. They saw only the tyrant, the monster, the enemy. They fought for freedom, and they were right to fight. But when they used the Elder Scroll to cast Alduin through time, they were not just defeating a tyrant. They were punishing a being for wanting to be more than his function. They sent him forward 4,000 years. They made him someone else's problem. And they had no idea that they were also postponing the end of the world. 4,000 years later, Alduin returned. He was different. The texts hint at this, though the game does not explore it deeply. The Alduin who came back in the Fourth Era was not the same as the Alduin who left in the Merethic. Something had changed in him during the journey through time. Some of the old arrogance remained, but there was also confusion, uncertainty, as if he had forgotten pieces of himself during the long leap between eras. He began raising dragons, bringing back his fallen kin, rebuilding his army. But he did not immediately begin the conquest he had abandoned. He seemed to be searching for something, testing the world, trying to remember who he was supposed to be. Was he trying to eat the world, or was he still trying to rule it? Perhaps he no longer knew himself. And then the Dragonborn appeared, a mortal with the soul of a dragon, a being who could absorb the essence of fallen dragons, growing stronger with each kill. A weapon perfectly designed to destroy Alduin, if such a thing was even possible. The last Dragonborn. You. The Dragonborn's existence is not coincidence. Nothing in the Elder Scrolls universe is truly coincidence. The Dragonborn appeared precisely when Alduin returned, as if the universe itself had prepared a response. But a response to what? Was the Dragonborn meant to defeat Alduin the tyrant? Or was the Dragonborn meant to remind Alduin of his true purpose? Was the last Dragonborn a weapon of destruction? Or a wake-up call? The game gives you only one option. You fight Alduin. You pursue him to Sovngarde, the Nordic afterlife. You battle him in the realm of the dead, and you defeat him. His body dissolves. His soul goes somewhere. The game never clearly shows you absorbing Alduin's soul the way you absorb other dragons. Something different happens. The Dragonborn wins. Alduin is gone. The world is saved. But saved from what? From a tyrant who had already been defeated once before, or from the ending that was supposed to come. The heroes of Sovngarde celebrate. The ancient Nords rejoice that the World Eater has finally been destroyed. Soon sends you back to the mortal world, honored and victorious. Nobody asks the question that should be asked. Nobody wonders what happens now.
Let me ask you something. When you killed Alduin in Sovngarde, what actually happened? You used the Dragonrend shout to force him to the ground. You struck him with blade and voice until his body could no longer sustain itself. He dissolved into light and shadow, his form coming apart, his presence fading from the realm of the dead. And then, nothing. No soul absorption, no rush of power, no memories flooding into your mind the way they do with every other dragon you kill. Alduin simply stopped. What does that mean? When a Dragonborn kills a dragon, they absorb the dragon's soul. This is not a metaphor. This is the literal consumption of everything that dragon was, its memories, its power, its essence. The dragon's body remains, but its soul is gone, integrated into the Dragonborn, making them stronger. This is why dragons fear the Dragonborn. Other deaths are temporary.
Dragons can be resurrected by powerful magic, called back from wherever dragon souls go. But a dragon killed by the Dragonborn is gone forever. Their soul has been eaten by another being. You did this to dozens of dragons throughout your journey. You felt it happen every time. But not with Alduin. Paarthurnax addresses this briefly after your victory. He asks if you absorbed Alduin's soul. When you confirm that you did not, he seems troubled. Perhaps it is better that way, he says. The father of dragons deserves more than mere oblivion. But there is something in his voice, something uncertain, as if he is trying to convince himself as much as you. He then says something even more unsettling. Perhaps he is not truly gone. Perhaps he will return at the end of time to fulfill his destiny. At the end of time, to fulfill his destiny. Paarthurnax believes Alduin is not dead. He believes the World Eater has merely been delayed, postponed, sent away again, as he was sent away by the ancient Nords to return when he is truly needed. This is the optimistic interpretation. This is the hope that the cycle is not broken, merely interrupted. That when the Kalpa has truly run its course, when the universe is ready to end, Alduin will wake once more and do what he was always meant to do. But hope is not certainty. And 4,000 years ago, the ancient Nords also thought they had solved the Alduin problem. Let us examine what we actually know. Alduin was cast through time by an Elder Scroll. He emerged 4,000 years later, disoriented but alive. The method used to defeat him, temporal displacement, clearly did not destroy him. But the Dragonborn's method was different. No Elder Scroll, no time travel, direct combat in Sovngarde, the realm of the honored dead. The Dragonborn used the power of the voice, the same power Alduin himself wielded. And Alduin dissolved. Where did he go? There are several possibilities. Possibility 1. Alduin was truly destroyed. His essence was dispersed so thoroughly that even his cosmic function was eliminated. The World Eater no longer exists in any form. If this is true, the cycle is permanently broken. There will be no ending. The Kalpa will continue forever, growing stagnant and corrupt until reality itself collapses under its own weight. This is the worst outcome. Possibility 2. Alduin's soul returned to Akatosh. As the firstborn of the Time God, Alduin may be an aspect of Akatosh rather than a separate being. When the Dragonborn defeated him, his essence may have flowed back to its source, reintegrating with the divine whole. If this is true, Alduin could be reborn. Akatosh could send another World Eater when the time is right. The cycle might continue, just with a different face on the ending. This is possible, but there is no evidence for it. And Akatosh has never shown any inclination to directly intervene in mortal affairs, even when his intervention was desperately needed. Possibility 3. Alduin is in Sovngarde, waiting. The Nordic afterlife is not like other afterlives. It exists outside normal time. The heroes who dwell there have been feasting since the Dragon War, thousands of years ago, but for them, it might feel like days. Time moves differently in the realm of the dead. Perhaps Alduin is still there. Perhaps his defeat was not destruction, but imprisonment. Perhaps he waits in some deep part of Sovngarde, recovering, regenerating, preparing for the moment when he is needed. This is Paarthurnax's hope. This is the best-case scenario, but it is also faith, not fact. Possibility 4. Alduin is simply gone, but the function remains. Perhaps the World Eater was not a single being, but a role. a position in the cosmic hierarchy. When one Alduin falls, another might rise. Perhaps the universe will eventually produce a new World Eater, a new mechanism of ending, a new dragon to consume reality when its time has come. This would mean the Dragonborn's victory is temporary, meaningful, but not permanent. The cycle continues, just with different players. This is perhaps the most hopeful interpretation, but again, there is no evidence. There is only speculation. And here is the terrifying truth. We do not know. The game does not tell us. The lore does not tell us. No prophet or god or elder scroll has revealed what happened to Alduin's essence when he dissolved in Sovngarde. We killed something we did not understand. We eliminated a function we could not comprehend. And now we wait to see what the consequences will be. Let me describe what a world without ending looks like. At first, nothing changes. The sun rises and sets. The seasons turn. Mortals live and die as they always have. Empires rise and fall. History continues. But beneath the surface, things begin to go wrong. The barriers weaken. Mundus, the mortal realm, is protected from oblivion by barriers established at the moment of creation. These barriers are not static.
They fluctuate, strengthen, and weaken over time. But they are supposed to be renewed with each kalpa. The ending of the world is not just destruction. It is cleansing. It is reset. All the accumulated damage, all the tears and holes and weak points that develop over thousands of years, they are wiped clean when Alduin consumes reality. Without that renewal, the barriers continue to weaken. The Daedric princes press harder against the edges of the world. Oblivion gates become easier to open. Possession, summoning, planar bleeding, all of it becomes more common. The mortal world becomes more permeable to things that should not be here. The gods grow distant. The Aedra, the divine beings who sacrifice themselves to create Mundus, are already weakened. They gave up much of their power in the act of creation. They persist, but they are not what they once were. With each passing age, they grow more distant. Their interventions become rarer. Their presence fades. In a normal kalpa, this does not matter. The world ends before the gods become too weak. The reset brings new divine power, fresh connection between the mortal and immortal realms. Without the reset, the gods simply continue to fade. Akatosh grows more distant. Kinnereth's influence weakens. Mara's love becomes harder to feel. Eventually, the divines become nothing more than memories. Names invoked without power behind them. Gods who no longer hear prayers because they have faded into something less than gods. Time becomes unstable. Akatosh is the god of time. He is also tied intimately to Alduin, who is his firstborn, his aspect, his ending. With Alduin gone, truly gone, not merely sleeping, time itself may begin to malfunction. Dragon breaks become more common. Paradoxes accumulate. The linear flow of cause and effect starts to fray. The dragon break at the end of Daggerfall was a localized phenomenon, contained and eventually resolved. But imagine dragon breaks becoming normal. Imagine past and future bleeding together. Imagine contradictory events all being simultaneously true. Reality becomes a nightmare from which no one can wake. Entropy without release. Everything decays. This is fundamental to existence. Mountains erode. Empires crumble. Bodies age and die.
Entropy is not optional. In a healthy kalpa, this entropy has a purpose. It moves toward an ending. It builds toward the moment when Alduin consumes everything and resets the slate. Without that ending, entropy continues, but it has nowhere to go. The decay accumulates. The corruption deepens. The universe becomes a rotting thing, falling apart without the release of true death. Imagine a body that ages but cannot die. Imagine organs failing one by one, systems shutting down, consciousness persisting through it all. Imagine that suffering lasting forever. That is what a universe without ending becomes. The Thalmor understand this. This is why they are so dangerous. This is why their true goal is not conquest, but annihilation. The Thalmor, the ruling council of the Aldmeri Dominion, believe that mortality was a mistake. They believe that the creation of Mundus was a crime perpetrated against the elven ancestors, who were once divine beings. They want to undo creation, not rule it, not reform it, destroy it utterly. Return existence to the state before Mundus, before mortality, before the world. And here is the horrifying irony. They might actually achieve it. In a healthy kalpa, the Thalmor's plans would be impossible. The World Eater would eventually come and reset everything, preventing any permanent damage to reality's structure. But with Alduin gone, the protections are gone too. The Thalmor can chip away at the foundations of existence, dismantling the towers that hold reality together, weakening the barriers, unraveling creation thread by thread. Without Alduin to reset the world, they might actually succeed in destroying it. And unlike Alduin's consumption, which leads to renewal, the Thalmor's destruction would be permanent, final. Nothing would come after. Not a new kalpa, not a new world, just nothing. Forever. This is the stakes we are dealing with. This is what the Dragonborn's victory may have cost us. Not certain doom, but the possibility of doom. Not guaranteed catastrophe, but the removal of the safety net that was supposed to protect us. We eliminated the World Eater without understanding what the world needs to be eaten. We saved ourselves from Alduin the Tyrant and exposed ourselves to something potentially much worse. And the worst part? We will never know for certain. The consequences of killing Alduin may not manifest for thousands of years. The barriers will weaken slowly. The gods will fade gradually. Time will fray at the edges so subtly that no one notices until it is too late. By the time anyone realizes what has happened, the Dragonborn will be long dead. The events of Skyrim will be ancient history. No one will connect the growing chaos to that moment in Sovngarde when a hero defeated the World Eater. The Dragonborn will be remembered as a savior. The truth will be lost. So, was the Dragonborn right? This is the question I have been building toward. The question that has no easy answer. The question that, once you truly understand it, will change how you see the entire story of Skyrim. Was defeating Alduin a victory or a mistake? Let me present both cases. The case for victory is simple and compelling. Alduin was a tyrant. He enslaved humanity. He demanded worship and sacrifice. When he returned in the Fourth Era, he immediately began raising an army of dragons to reconquer Tamriel. He killed innocents at Helgen. He would have killed millions more. The Dragonborn stopped him. Whatever the cosmic consequences, whatever might happen in the distant future, the immediate threat was real and had to be addressed. You cannot let a monster burn the world today, because stopping him might cause problems 1,000 years from now. The Dragonborn acted with the information available. They saw a threat. They eliminated it. That is heroism. Moreover, Alduin had abandoned his purpose. He was not acting as the World Eater. He was acting as a conqueror. If he had succeeded, He would not have consumed the world cleanly. He would have ruled it, corrupted it, twisted it into something unrecognizable. An Alduin who refuses to eat the world is not performing his cosmic function anyway. Whether he was defeated by the Dragonborn or not, the cycle was already broken. Alduin broke it himself when he chose tyranny over duty. The Dragonborn did not break the cycle. Alduin did. The Dragonborn merely dealt with the consequences. And there is hope. Paarthurnax's hope. The hope that Alduin is not truly destroyed, merely delayed. The hope that when the time is right, when the Kalpa has truly run its course, the World Eater will wake once more. Perhaps the Dragonborn's victory was temporary in the best possible way. Perhaps they stopped the tyrant without eliminating the function. Perhaps Alduin sleeps somewhere, healing, waiting for the moment when he is needed. Perhaps everything will be fine. Now let me present the case for doubt. The Dragonborn did not understand what they were fighting. They knew Alduin as the World Eater, but they did not comprehend what that title meant. They saw a dragon who needed to be stopped. They did not see a cosmic function that needed to be preserved. Ignorance is not guilt. The Dragonborn cannot be blamed for not understanding the full implications of their actions. But ignorance does not prevent consequences. You can break something without meaning to. You can cause harm without intending it. The Dragonborn may have saved one world by dooming all future worlds. And there is a deeper issue, a philosophical issue. Who decides when a Kalpa should end? In the natural order, this is not a decision at all. The universe runs its course. Alduin wakes when waking is necessary. The ending comes when ending is right. No mortal has to make the choice. But Alduin's rebellion changed that. By refusing his duty, he forced the question. By trying to rule instead of consume, he created a situation where mortals had to intervene, and the mortals chose to stop him. In doing so, they may have claimed a power they were never meant to have, the power to prevent the ending of the world. Is that power rightfully theirs? Do mortals have the right to decide that existence should continue indefinitely? That the cycle should be broken? That there should be no more endings, no more renewals, no more fresh starts? The gods created this system. The Aedra sacrificed themselves to build a world that would exist in cycles, each Kalpa flowing into the next, entropy and renewal in eternal balance. The Dragonborn, a mortal however powerful, overrode that design. They used their power to eliminate the mechanism of ending. They declared, through their actions, if not their words, that mortality should persist forever. That is an audacious claim. That is a terrifying responsibility, and it was made by someone who could not possibly understand what they were doing. But here is the thing about moral complexity. Both of these perspectives can be true simultaneously. The Dragonborn was right to fight Alduin, and the Dragonborn may have doomed the universe. These are not contradictory statements. They are both accurate descriptions of a single action viewed from different angles. Heroism is not about being certain. Heroism is about acting in the face of uncertainty, about making the best choice you can with the information you have, about accepting that your actions may have consequences you cannot foresee. The Dragonborn was a hero. This is true regardless of what happens next. And the Dragonborn may have made a terrible mistake. This is also true. Both truths can coexist. Let me tell you what I believe. I believe that Alduin was always going to be a tragedy. From the moment he chose tyranny over duty, from the moment he decided to be more than his function, tragedy became inevitable. If the ancient Nords had not stopped him, he would have enslaved the world forever. If the Dragonborn had not stopped him, he would have done the same. Alduin did not want to eat the world. He made that clear through his actions. He wanted to rule. He wanted to matter. He wanted to be remembered. And because of that desire, that painfully understandable desire, the cycle was broken. Not by the Dragonborn, by Alduin himself. Perhaps the Dragonborn was not meant to kill the World Eater. Perhaps the Dragonborn was meant to remind him. Think about it. A mortal with the soul of a dragon. A being who can speak with Alduin as an equal. A creature who bridges the gap between mortality and divinity. What if the Dragonborn's true purpose was not combat, but communication? What if they were supposed to make Alduin see what he had become? What if, in some version of events that did not happen, Alduin looked at this impossible mortal and remembered his duty? What if the World Eater was supposed to be healed, not destroyed? We will never know. The Dragonborn fought. Alduin fell. The question of what might have been is lost forever. But I find comfort in this possibility. Comfort in the idea that even cosmic tragedies have roots in choices. That Alduin was not simply evil, but lost. That the Dragonborn was not simply heroic, but working with incomplete understanding. The universe is not a story with clear villains and heroes. It is a vast, complicated system in which beings make choices they do not fully understand, causing consequences they cannot predict. This is terrifying. It is also beautiful. So where does that leave us? Here. Now. In a world that may or may not be doomed. In a kalpa that may or may not ever end. In an existence balanced on a knife's edge between continuation and catastrophe. The same place we have always been. Mortals have never had certainty. We have never known what the future holds. We have never been guaranteed that our world will continue, that our children will have a tomorrow, that anything we build will last. The Dragonborn's victory did not change this fundamental reality. It just made us aware of it in a new way. The ending might not come. The cycle might be broken. Or Alduin might return in 10,000 years to consume everything as he was always meant to. We do not know. We cannot know. And that is acceptable. The world continues. Tomorrow the sun will rise over Skyrim. The snow will fall on the throat of the world. The people of Whiterun will go about their business. Children will be born. Lovers will meet. Stories will be told. None of them will think about Alduin. None of them will wonder about the cosmic implications of the Dragonborn's victory. They will simply live. And perhaps that is the point. Perhaps the purpose of existence is not to understand the ending. Perhaps it is simply to exist, to experience, to love and lose and struggle and triumph, to be mortal in all the beautiful, painful ways that mortality allows. The World Eater may come, or he may not. The Kalpa may end, or it may continue forever. Either way, we have this moment, this breath, this heartbeat, and that is enough. Let me leave you with a final thought. Alduin wanted to matter. He wanted to be more than a function. He wanted to be remembered as something other than the ending. In a way, he got his wish. We are talking about him now. We are considering his tragedy, his choices, his pain. He is not simply the World Eater. He is Alduin. A being with desires and fears and a desperate need to be seen. The Dragonborn did not erase him. The Dragonborn made him immortal in the only way that truly matters. In story. In memory. In the minds of those who came after. Alduin wanted to be remembered. He is. And you who have listened to this story, you who have considered these questions, you who have looked at the end of the world and wondered if it was victory or tragedy, you are part of that memory now. When you next play Skyrim, when you next face Alduin in Sovngarde, you will see him differently. Not as a simple villain, not as a final boss to be defeated, as a being who chose wrong because he wanted too much, as a tragedy in dragon form. And perhaps, just perhaps, you will pause before that final blow. Not to spare him. His tyranny cannot be forgiven, but to understand him, to see the being behind the monster, to acknowledge that even world eaters can be lost. The world continues. You continue. Sleep now. Let the questions settle. Let the uncertainty become peace. Tomorrow the sun rises. That is enough. That has always been enough. Sleep well. And if Alduin dreams, wherever he is, whatever remains of him, perhaps he finally knows peace too. Perhaps at the end of all things, even the World Eater can rest.